Episode 3, we briefly introduced Uranus as the sky born from Gaia, but today we shift focus to him entirely, to understand not only his origin, but his role, behavior, and eventual downfall. Uranus is one of the most essential figures in early Greek cosmology, though he is not widely worshipped in later mythology. His importance lies in what he represents: the structured heavens, the first ruler of the cosmos, and the father of the first divine generation. As the sky god, he embodied not just the literal heavens, but also the ordering force of the universe. He was imagined as a dome of stars stretched over the earth, separating Gaia from the infinite void of chaos. His presence made the cosmos functional. Space was no longer just endless darkness. It had height, direction, and boundaries. Although Uranus was born of Gaia alone, some traditions later described him as a personification of the heavens that always existed alongside the earth. In early Orphic sources and pre-Hesiodic fragments, Uranus was not necessarily born, but revealed, always above, watching and stretching across creation. These alternate interpretations highlight just how abstract and symbolic Uranus was. He was less a character and more a force of nature, order, vastness, and unreachable distance made manifest. As the Greeks looked upward to the stars, Uranus became not just a divine father, but the very stage upon which fate would play out. He was the ceiling of Olympus, the canvas for celestial bodies, and the silent witness to divine history. The stars, the constellations, the cycles of night and day, all were anchored to his form. In myth, he rarely speaks or acts beyond his repression of the monstrous children, but his presence is constant, shaping both literal sky and mythic hierarchy. But Uranus also fathered more fearsome children, the three Cyclopes, Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, who each had a single eye and great strength, and the three Hecatoncheires, Cottus, Briareus, and Gyges, who each had 100 arms and 50 heads. These children represented raw, untamed power, the elemental forces that lay beyond control. As these powerful beings emerged from Gaia, Uranus grew fearful. He saw the potential threat they posed, not only to himself, but to the structured cosmos he represented. Hesiod tells us that Uranus hated his monstrous children, and to prevent them from acting, he forced them back into Gaia's womb, deep within the earth. This act caused immense pain to Gaia. She was not only burdened physically by the presence of her imprisoned children, but also emotionally wounded by Uranus's cruelty. His desire to maintain control at all costs revealed a tyrannical nature. Uranus, once the partner of Gaia and the shaping force of the cosmos, had become a suppressive ruler, fearful of change and obsessed with preserving his power. Eventually, Gaia decided to act. She created a great sickle of flint and asked her children to help her overthrow Uranus. Only the youngest Titan, Cronus, agreed. Gaia set the plan in motion, and one night, as the sky god descended to embrace Gaia, Cronus struck. With the sickle, he castrated Uranus, ending his reign. From the blood that spilled onto Gaia came further beings, the Erinyes, or Furies, who would later punish crimes of kinslaying, the Giants, who would one day challenge the gods, and the Meliae, nymphs associated with ash trees. And from the foam that formed when Uranus's severed parts met the sea, the goddess Aphrodite was born, though this version of her origin varies from later traditions. The fall of Uranus marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Cronus became the new king of the cosmos, ruling during what the Greeks would call the Golden Age. But Uranus, even in defeat, cast a warning that one day Cronus himself would be overthrown by his own child. This prophecy echoed across generations, forming a cycle of succession that defined the mythological worldview, that no power, no matter how divine, is permanent. It is worth noting that Uranus was not worshipped like later Olympian gods. He had no major cults, temples, or festivals. Instead, his role is more symbolic. He represents the first order imposed on the cosmos, the first divine authority, and the first ruler to fall. His influence lingers in how the Greeks understood the structure of the universe and the inevitability of cosmic succession. Uranus's myth also introduces a key theme in Greek mythology: generational conflict. The fear of children rising against parents, the cycle of rebellion and the consequences of tyranny appear again and again, from Cronus swallowing his children, to Zeus overthrowing Cronus, and even to later mortal heroes challenging divine forces. In sum, Uranus was not just the sky, he was the first to rule, the first to fear, and the first to fall. His story reminds us that even in myth, power is temporary and change is inevitable. But the story of Uranus and Gaia continues beyond the sky. From their union, and from Gaia herself, emerge the natural pillars of the world, the towering mountains, the endless seas, and the first ocean spirits that flow between them. In the next episode, we'll trace how Earth's form took shape through divine births and meet the ancient beings who came to embody land, sea, and the balance between them.